South Carolina ETV, South Carolina Public Radio, and the Post and Courier are co-presenters of this program.
Good evening and welcome to the 2018 Gubernatorial Candidates Debate, live from the campus of Greenville Technical College here in Greenville, South Carolina. I'm Charles Bierbauer. Joining me this evening to question the candidates for governor is Andy Shain of the Post and Courier. Election day is now less than 2 weeks away, and tonight is our final debate with the two candidates running for South Carolina's top office. They are Henry McMaster, the Republican candidate, and James Smith, the Democratic candidate. Before we begin, our usual ground rules, gentlemen. You each have the opportunity to make a 1-minute opening statement. After that, you will have a minute to respond to questions from Andy and me, and 30 seconds for rebuttals as necessary. We drew for the starting roles as you arrived this evening, and Governor McMaster, you begin with your opening statement.
Thank you, and appreciate you all being here. Appreciate ETV putting this on. Appreciate all of you being here. I want to tell you, I'm proud to be the governor of South Carolina. We're getting stronger and stronger every day. And the testimony of that is we're growing so fast that we are now, I will be announcing tomorrow, we're going to have a tax cut of $52 million on the unemployment tax. That is because we're growing fast, people are working, they're making more money, and that way we're able to reduce that tax. I want to reduce taxes. I want to reduce regulations, I want to keep the people safe, and I want to educate the children. Since I've been in office, I've announced 23,000 new jobs, over $8 billion in new investment, and things are getting better. We have more people working now than we've ever had before. I'm thrilled and proud to be the governor of the people of South Carolina. I'm proud of the people of South Carolina, and I want to do a good job for the people so they will be proud of me as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Smith.
Well, Henry, right now South Carolina is in the bottom fifth of about every list that we want to be on the top of. And if South Carolina were a football team and you were our head coach, you'd be fired. The fact is, this is an important time for the future of our state. And my fellow South Carolinians, elections are about our future. My name is James Smith, and I'm running for governor of South Carolina because I believe in a South Carolina where all our children have access to a high-quality education, where they're prepared for the jobs of today and tomorrow, and where we all have affordable, high-quality health care, and where South Carolina is at the top of every list to live, work, raise a family, and build a business. When I led American soldiers in combat, I cared more about their future, their very lives, than my own. And we need a governor who cares more about our future than his next election. My wife Kirkland and I ask for your prayers, and I ask for your support, because I know as governor, our best days can be ahead of us.
Thank you, gentlemen. One critique we received after last week's debate was that viewers thought they had heard a lot of politics and not as many specifics as they'd like to. So I encourage you again to focus on the specifics over the polemics. Voters are watching. Andy Shain has our first round of questions.
Well, you're both known as lawyers, obviously from Columbia. Actually, you live not far from each other in downtown Columbia. But you also own other businesses. Governor, you co-own 20 rental properties in Columbia. Representative Smith, you operate a disabled veterans-owned business that offers valet services at Veteran Affairs hospitals. First, I want to ask, as small business owners, what regulations and taxes need to change to make it easier to give more of an edge to small businesses in South Carolina?
Mr. Smith, you have the first response.
Great question, and a whole lot. One, I want to see us adjust our overall tax burden on businesses. I opposed something called Act 388 a long time ago and led the fight to make sure that we reduce the taxes on businesses in our state. I know as governor, I'm going to build the type of consensus we need to be more competitive when it comes to taxes in South Carolina. I've always supported pro-growth tax initiatives, particularly those things like the Abandoned Buildings Revitalization Act and the Textile Mill Revitalization Act, all of which have been a real shot in the arm for business and redevelopment, and you see it all across our state. That's actually an initiative that Henry vetoed and opposed, and we had to override his veto, but it's an important pro-growth tax initiative that's made a difference in the future of our state. I also know that I want to make sure that we become more competitive when it comes to our energy. South Carolina, and particularly Columbia, just lost a big manufacturer because of our high energy prices. And I know as governor, I have the ability to make us more competitive, where Henry, who has certainly been the utilities candidate, I think is going to certainly continue to defend the status quo.
Governor McMaster.
I don't know what Mr. Smith means by the utilities candidate. I'm the one that brought everything to light about the shenanigans going on, not only at SCNG or SCANA, but also at Santee Cooper. I'm the one that brought all that to light, and I'm the one that said that the people should not have to pay a cent for reactors that are not going to be built. They ought to get their money back for what they put in and not spend any more. And I think the judge is right on the edge of agreeing with me on that. But the way to get more business is to reduce taxes. This reducing this unemployment tax, 52 million, it was 25 million reduced it last year, 52 million this year. I hope to keep on reducing. I would like to eventually get rid of the corporate income tax. I'd like to get rid of the regulations that choke the mechanics and those that work, the contractors that work on properties. Keep them up, that build. They have to ride all over town, all over the county to get the permits just to do the simple work. There are many things we can do, but the main thing to create more businesses is to lower taxes, reduce regulations. That's what I'm for. My opponent is not.
This week, you've each received a bit of criticism for your businesses in news reports. Governor McMaster, some of your properties are run down, including a boarding house that we found had mold and roaches in a stove, and your properties have received dozens of city code violations. Representative Smith, you've been accused of passing on your business with your VA business to non-qualifying subcontractors, and you declined a VA inspection this year that will prevent you from getting further VA contracts. Shouldn't voters judge you on how you run your businesses? Governor McMaster.
Well, we're at full occupancy. There's my wife Peggy. She runs PJM Properties. We have a property manager, but we're at full occupancy, but not in that particular rooming house. As you know, students act like students, college students. We live on the college campus. They break a lot of things. We fix them as fast as we can. The rooming house is a little bit different. We rent to people there. It's on a weekly basis. That's all they can afford. And a lot of these people would be on the street if we didn't have a place for them there. It's a nice business. We enjoy doing it. We're renovating all the time. Those particular photographs came from things that are under renovation right now.
But do you think that the voters should judge you based on what these news reports had to share?
I think they should look at everything, but I think they should look at the fact that we have 100% occupancy. Students are waiting in line to move into the properties that Peggy and the manager manage so well. They're nice properties.
Representative Smith.
Well, Andy, March 8th, 2008, the vehicle I commanded hit an IED. It blew that truck sky high. I, along with the several other members that were a part of that truck, suffered permanent injuries. Because of that, I was able to qualify as a service-disabled veteran-owned business. And each one of those allegations were allegations that we opposed, appealed, and won. So the fact is, I'm happy for the people of South Carolina to judge me on the business that I do, because in the end, we won and successfully put back all of those allegations.
What about
on
the
the other
decision
hand,
not to go through with the inspection
well,
this year?
we knew at the end it required that I be full-time engaged in the business. And the fact is, running a full-time statewide campaign and serving as governor, you can't do both. So it was a voluntarily intent to let that go and begin winding up that business. I'm proud of what we've been able to do. On the other hand, I don't know, Henry, if you would even live in the buildings of which you rent. It seems like to me with what you get in the way of $500,000 every year from taxpayers to take care of your home, you would do a better job taking care of your tenants' homes.
Thank you. You mentioned, Governor, you mentioned the nuclear plant. I want to ask a question about that. It'll be first to Representative Smith. The VC Summer nuclear plant, the multi-billion-dollar project that's never going to be completed, abandoned last year. Now there is a new proposal from Dominion, the would-be purchaser of SCANA and SCE&G, that might have a bigger rate cut for consumers, but not that $1,000 rebate. This is an alternative that's been thrown out there. So what I'd like to hear from you is what are the things that concern you about this pending SCANA-Dominion merger? And secondly, where do you stand on the sale of Santee Cooper? Starting with you, Representative
Well, I'll
Smith.
take the reverse of that. I do not support, what I've seen of every offer to purchase Santee Cooper are offers that are in the best interest of the business offering to purchase it, not the people of South Carolina. I know that it can be far more efficient, and we can leverage that resource to begin to explore more renewable energy options and bring utility rates down. It's a key part of economic development for our state, and I'm going to make it more efficient, and I'm going to make it work for the people of South Carolina. On the other hand, my opponent, who has received well over $100,000 in campaign contributions in this race, of which I have gotten none, he is clearly the defender of the status quo. I have fought to make sure that we had transparency in our bills, that we had accountability within a system. The bottom line is this: with Henry in charge, the system that is broken has not changed. We need leadership that's going to make sure we have the ways to drive rates down, that if there is going to be a lower cost alternative, that utilities are required to purchase that and then pass those savings on to the ratepayer. As for the Dominion deal, the Dominion deal is not in the best interest of the people of South Carolina. The first version of it wasn't. I believe this. I think the law is unconstitutional. I support the efforts that are being made right now to challenge that law. And in the end, if I believe as it's going to be, the judge holds that unconstitutional, all of that will be gone. And I think the ability for Dominion to move forward on that purchase will be ended, and we can begin moving to more competitive rates for the people of South Carolina.
Governor?
Back to the previous question, one of the properties we rent is our home that Peggy and I first bought, and we lived in it for a lot of years. It's a great place. And also our son, while he's undergraduate school and law school, he and a lot of his friends lived in our properties. They're very nice places. But getting to your question, Mr. Smith, you're the one that voted for the Baseload Review Act, and you're also one that took a walk. You took a walk on or you were there when the Baseload Review Act passed.
No, sir.
And you're the one that took a walk. How about this? You're the one that took a walk on the final vote.
No, sir.
You took a walk.
The bill that you vetoed, Governor.
Wait a minute. It's my turn.
Okay.
Wait a minute. You and your running mate took a walk on that. I'm the one that disclosed the Bechtel report from 2015, $1 million report everybody was trying to keep for secret. I'm the one that's been pushing for full disclosure and for the ratepayers to pay zero on this from the very beginning.
Governor, I gave Representative Smith some extra time on his answer, and I want you to come, if you would, to the question, the current or proposed Dominion deal and Santee Cooper. In a nutshell, are they good for customers? That'll
depend on any deal that is done, to the extent that I have authority over it concerning SCANA and SCNG, will require that those customers do not pay another penny and they get all of their money back. On Santee Cooper, I've been the one that I've removed management, or forced the removal of management. I called for the consideration of the sale of Santee Cooper. Finally, the legislature is doing that. And I'm the one that I understand when Belks went broke, that was $5.2 billion in debt. Right now, Santee Cooper is over $8.2 billion in debt. Selling it seems like a good idea. I'm the one that has caused all of that to happen, and I will continue to make that happen.
Let me ask another question. This $52 million tax cut that you said, I want to make sure I understand what it is you're cutting.
This is unemployed. It's the amount that the employers pay for the employees for unemployment insurance.
So would that not mean that there would be a smaller pool of unemployment benefits available?
No.
If there's less being
paid? No. That's Democrat thinking there that you espouse.
No, that's
what exactly has happened is that we are growing. So there are more businesses to pay money in. We have good employee relations. We have great companies come, Volvo, BMW, Boeing, all those are great companies, and a lot of good ones coming up. The people are doing better. They're happy, and so the costs go down. They're not getting hurt as much.
Charles.
Representative, I'd like your view of this.
Well, I think a couple things. I need to correct some very wrong facts. Of course, Governor, you can do a lot better, I think, at preparing for this debate, and you would have learned that I did not vote for the Baseload Review Act. At that time, I was wearing a uniform fighting the Taliban in Afghanistan and not here for that vote. And you'll also recall, Governor, that bill that you say that I skipped a vote on is a bill that I co-sponsored, of which I voted at least a dozen times for, also of which you vetoed when we were working to drive the rates down. So I've been there on this fight, making it happen for the people of our state long before you were here, and I'll continue to do that after I win this election.
But
you're going to run out.
Yes, you did. Yeah. Well, then answer this question, yes or no. Were you and your running mate, did you vote on the final vote? Yes or no? The answer is no.
I had to leave of the House, which is permitted to leave that, which is allowed within the rules, and I followed the rules, and I voted 12 times on that bill.
Except
and if you were supportive of the bill, then why didn't you sign it, Governor?
Representative Smith, you've got about 15 seconds left if you want to answer my question. I would like to get your sense of the governor's proposal on this tax reduction.
Well, you know, Charles, it sounds pretty half-baked to me. I know this. In order to consider anything like that, we actually, before you were in office, Governor, we actually moved that rate down previously, and we made things more competitive for our businesses some time ago. That then had to be lifted until we grew to a point where we had enough reserves to be able to bring it back down again. And if that is the case, Henry, I'll certainly support it, but I need to look at the proposal, and I think that's only fair to do, and apparently you're announcing it tomorrow, so I look forward to taking a look at it.
All right, we're going to move on. Andy Shain has the next set of questions, starting with a question for Representative Smith.
A 2016 Winthrop University poll found that 78% of South Carolinians feel medical marijuana should be legalized in the state. But efforts to legalize medical marijuana have largely failed in the State House. Should we legalize it?
Yes, I can tell you in my experience, in this month today, this month is PTSD Awareness Month. And it's important that we all remember all of our veterans who've come back, but you still are having trouble getting home. And I know, in talking to many of my fellow veterans, the impact that medical cannabis can have on their ability to get back to work and return to their homes. I'm a co-sponsor of the Compassionate Care Act. I believe the science is very clear. It is there and available in other states, and there are several folks within law enforcement that share my belief in this. Matter of fact, there's leaders within law enforcement now that have had sons and relatives and daughters who've had to go to other states to get access to this important medical resource. It's a significant difference that Henry and I have, and I think if we want to move South Carolina forward, we ought to make this resource available. I think of also the many that desperately need it who have seizure disorders. I talked to a mother whose child had 1,000 seizures a day and could only get relief through medical cannabis. I support it, and I will make sure that I do everything I can to support the people of our state and make that resource available.
Governor McMaster.
Just a few days ago, the chairman of the South Carolina Medical Association, Dr. Mark Seabrook, wrote an opinion piece in the newspaper saying that medical marijuana, there's no such thing, that it has not been studied. That's why the FDA has not approved it. That's why it's illegal nationally. And it is the opinion, the consistent opinion of law enforcement that it would be a detriment to society, to law enforcement, to open the door to that. Now, when law enforcement is satisfied that it can be controlled, then that's a different story. But until that time and until medical science catches up with it, we would be entering very dangerous territory. But I tell you, I do appreciate what the veterans have done. I enjoyed my time in the U.S. Army Reserves, and I'm delighted to have the endorsement of our Adjutant General, General Livingston, and also our Medal of Honor winners, General James Livingston, Major General, Marine General in Charleston. I'm glad to have the support of them and a huge cadre of veterans in South Carolina.
Thank you.
6 months ago, 7 inmates died and another 17 were injured during a riot at Lee Correctional Institution. One issue advocates for prisoners has raised in the wake of the riot is whether South Carolina is doing enough to give inmates the tools to improve their lives. Should South Carolina prisons put more emphasis on rehabilitation or put more emphasis on making prisons more secure in light of what happened 6 months ago? This is for Governor McMaster.
The answer is yes, and we are doing that. We're making great. Well, we're doing both.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the cell phones have taken over, as you know, and there have been cases where people have been convicted running their organizations, delivering dope and all sorts of stuff from within the prison. Brian Sterling, my director of prisons, has sought, and I have sought, to be able to jam those signals for the cell phones. We have not, they get smuggled in. We have not been allowed to do that, but we're continuing to try. In the meantime, we're experimenting with a managed access system that jams some signals at a Lee Correctional Institution. But also what we've done under his leadership is to provide for workforce development inside the prison, as well as medical telemedicine and telepsychiatry. We're also taking those prisoners on their way out and teaching them a skill, getting them to learn so they will be able to come out and get a job in this booming economy that we have right now.
Thank you.
Representative Smith.
Henry, cell phones don't murder prisoners. They just doesn't happen. What happened there was an extraordinary tragedy that everybody in South Carolina should be very concerned about. The fact that those 7 died and essentially bled to death because there was nobody there to be able to help them. And Henry, if we want to make sure that we get prisoners back to work, one of the ways we have worked to do that with our chambers of commerce, all of which have supported an expungement of expungement so that more offenses, nonviolent offenses, can be expunged from people's records, because the best way to prevent somebody from reoffending is for them to have a job. And one of the ways that is preventing them from having a job is a record. And so we all supported it. Republicans and Democrats in the House and the Senate supported this, but you vetoed it. You vetoed it worrying about your future and your next election, not the people of South Carolina. I know as governor, I'm going to be there for the citizens of our state. I'm going to make sure that when we expand the expungements that can be available, we're going to put more people back to work in South Carolina and improve the lives of so many that Henry, you're standing in the way of.
Rebuttal.
Yes,
Mr. Smith,
30
you're
seconds
wrong.
for rebuttal.
You're wrong about that. That riot was organized by cell phones inside the prison with the prisoners talking to each other. It is a menace all across the country. South Carolina is not the only state facing this, and we've got to get rid of those cell phones, their ability to work. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Gentlemen, I've got a couple of questions related to business. Here in the upstate, the auto manufacturing industry is anticipating a downturn because of President Trump's tariffs and his tariff war with China and Europe. Certainly, we all know we're in BMW country in this part of South Carolina. And the question I will ask you, Governor, is have you raised this tariff question with the president, and what response did you get? But the order is to ask Representative Smith first. You would be a Democratic governor with a Republican president, a Republican legislature, and a Republican Congress predominantly. So, I mean, what kind of leverage for questions of that sort would you have?
I think a great deal of leverage, and I've shown that in 22 years of service in the General Assembly by building bipartisan coalitions to address and focus on some of the biggest challenges facing our state. But the fact is this, those job-killing tariffs are hurting our state. Matter of fact, South Carolina is one of the 3rd worst harmed states when it comes to these tariffs. BMW alone will lose over $350 million this year and over $550 million each year to come. And the fact is, all we hear from Henry is have patience. Well, the people of South Carolina, the hardworking people of South Carolina, deserve a better response. And the kind of response I'll give is to marshal the support of the chambers of commerce across our state, just as they've asked Henry to do, but has not happened. And marshal the support of our congressional delegation, which I have known and have experience doing in the past when it came to protecting our coastline. In the end, you've got to lead, Governor. You've got to knock on the door and knock down the door of the White House to make sure that you protect the hardworking people of South Carolina. And it wasn't until we held the press conference on Element Electronics that you finally decided to take action.
Thank you.
James?
Let me put it in form of a question. I mean, here's your chance to explain how you're knocking down the door.
Right.
But have you raised this tariff issue with the president? And what's your concern about the impact in South Carolina?
I'm very concerned about it. That's why we're in constant touch. That's why, James, when Mr. Smith was having a press conference about the tariff that's going to be placed on Element, which is the only TV manufacturer in the United States. I was talking to the president and to the others in the Congress and in the White House to get the tariff, not to have the tariff placed. And it was not placed, as you know. That's a case of jumping the gun before you know exactly what's going to happen with these tariffs. We're in a strenuous negotiation period with other countries. I support what President Trump is doing. And things are changing, and we need to get stronger. But I have told them, I've told everyone in the administration, we've had multiple conversations about this tariffs. I've told them that, and they know my position on them, and we do not want to have any tariffs that will hurt the people of South Carolina and our businesses. I've talked to all of these big businesses that are here, Volvo, BMW, all the rest of them. And we are working hard to see to it that we are not hurt, but in fact allowed to thrive, as I know we can do in South Carolina.
Are you getting any satisfaction?
We got satisfaction on Element. That came very quickly. We did not get satisfaction on Samsung, but because of introducing brain power into the conversation, Samsung ended up getting, and I testified against that tariff. I testified against others as well. But Samsung was able to enter into smartly research and development agreements with USC and Clemson, and as a result, they're producing the washing machines faster and faster and will get out under that tariff. There are many ways to work to see that the people of South Carolina thrive.
I'm going to ask you for a short answer to this question because we're running a little behind pace here, so we say. But similarly, last week you met with the president about the MOX project at Savannah River, the modified or the mixed oxide fuel plant, which, as I understand it, is essentially a dead project. Are you able to revive it?
Yes, sir.
How?
Yeah, well, we're going to have another meeting with the president. We met with Secretary Perry. We've met with we met with everybody, the White House counsel. We must have had 20 people in the room just last week. And of course, I've spoken to him about that before. I think that once the facts can be presented to the president, the full facts, and it's difficult to do when you don't have the complete flow and you're getting contrary information from what is the Obama Department of Energy. There's still people there that have this anti-nuclear attitude. So we're working hard. I think when we're able to finally finish this fight, it will be approved and it'll go ahead.
Thank you. Representative Smith, that's another project that's way over budget and way overdue. Is it still worth it?
Absolutely. Well, you can look at the sort of Trump experience with Henry in South Carolina. He's been a big help to you, Henry. He helped you survive a primary, but that friendship has done very little for South Carolina. In fact, when you look at the tariffs, we're seeing half of the jobs that we thought we would get from Volvo are now, Henry, they're going to China. And those lines are going to China because you've been unable to press upon, on behalf of the people of our state with the president, how wrong this is for the people of South Carolina. But the MOX program, I mean, you think of the billions that was spent there, and the bottom line is this: it is a product of which there is no customer. There's no way for this to end good. And so what we need to do is look about how we save those jobs here in South Carolina, how we turn the resources and the important work that is being done there to further employ the people of our state, and particularly the Aiken community, which is so important to what happens to SRS.
Well, in a sentence, how do you do that?
Well, I think you have to look at the alternatives, because right now, what Henry's talking about is kicking the can and not dealing with the issue. As governor, I'll deal with the issue.
Andy Shain has the next set of...
Rebuttal.
Quick one.
There is a $50 billion market for the MOX fuel once we get that plant running. $50 billion, which is way more, multiple times more than it will cost to finish it. And the facts are on our side. The facts, we just need to present them very clearly, and that last meeting was not the chance to do that. But I promise you, I can get in with the president and with Secretary Perry and others and bring my team, which includes the South Carolina delegation, before Mr. Smith would get in with his team, which includes Bernie Sanders' organization, Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren, and all those ultra liberals.
Folks, you're taking your candidate's time when you do that. Andy Shain has the next questions, starting with a question for Representative Smith.
Governor McMaster vetoed $16 million to pay for birth control, prenatal care, annual exams, including mammograms, for poor South Carolinians to stop a fraction of payments that would go to abortion provider Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood has received a little more, just a shade more than 1% of family planning funding from the state in the past 3 years, which has not included going to any abortions. Now Planned Parenthood is suing the state over an executive order that the governor signed blocking any payments to the group. Outside legal costs that the state are paying look like they're going to surpass whatever South Carolina obviously gives over or reimburses Planned Parenthood annually. What does the state gain or lose by halting the Planned Parenthood funding and by paying to defend this lawsuit? Representative Smith.
Henry, this is quite possibly one of the most despicable acts you've done in office. The fact is, the veto and the executive order that you issued was a pure political stunt that put at risk the health of thousands of South Carolina women who frankly don't deserve the way you have treated them. The reality is, and you know this, Henry, that there are $0 state dollars going to abortion in South Carolina, and that was all a political stunt. The truth is, Nikki Haley's director of Medicaid said that your action would actually increase abortions in South Carolina because you would eliminate the access to desperately needed family planning and health care resources. This is important. This is the difference in this election. Playing politics with the lives of our people and their health or doing the right thing because you got to care more about doing this job than keeping this job. And Henry, I will always side with the people of South Carolina and not play politics with their lives.
Governor McMaster.
Well, what we have to gain is that those beating hearts that are eliminated in that place will become full adults. That's what we have to gain. Now, let me finish. All of those other family planning that do not have abortions, we have made the proper steps to see they will continue to get that money. It is only Planned Parenthood that I am going to see does not get a penny of taxpayer money from the people of South Carolina, because not only do they perform abortions, but they promote abortions. That is bad for South Carolina, and we're not going to let that happen.
But is it worth the price?
Yes, it is worth it. This is a matter of life. We have to stand up and say what we stand for. Planned Parenthood has run ads against me. They've endorsed my opponent. That's fine with me. I don't want that endorsement. I want to stop abortions in South Carolina, particularly by an organization that makes its money by promoting abortions. That is not good policy for South Carolina.
Representative Smith.
The reality is this, and it's a sad reality. You know that your actions won't hold water. They're not going to survive in court, and so you are dispensing with hard-earned taxpayer dollars that to give away, and actually you're going to lose it, what's paid into to proceed with this lawsuit, and you're going to end up paying Planned Parenthood's lawyers with our taxpayer dollars. I would not do that as governor.
If this doesn't work, we'll take the next step, but we're going to eliminate that scourge from South Carolina.
Andy has the next question.
This question is to Representative Smith. I'm just reversing the order for a moment. Representative Smith, at the last debate, you said this of Governor McMaster, quote, "I just think he's not right for our future. He might have been the governor of 50 years ago, but the fact is we need to move South Carolina forward." What did you exactly mean by that?
Well, Andy, it's hard to answer that in a minute, but in just about every measure, I am working as well as so many as I've traveled in this 46 county campaign, not missing a single community or county in our state, believe that South Carolina should be in a much better place. And when it comes to making sure that we have a leadership that looks out for us and make sure that we have the infrastructure we need to move forward, or that we have access to health care, or that we have the types of schools that are going to prepare our workforce for the future jobs, it's just not going to happen. What will change?
Why won't that happen?
Well, he's already said he's opposed to all of these things. The fact is, the kind of things we need to move South Carolina forward, if Henry's elected, what's going to happen? Nothing. It's going to stay, the status quo is going to continue to be what it is. In order to move South Carolina forward, we need new leadership. Leadership that cares more about doing the job than keeping the job. Leadership that's going to put the people of our state before the politics and play games with their health care and their lives, because it's long overdue. We all love this state and love its people, and none of us believes we should be 50th in anything when it comes to our health care or our schools or our infrastructure, and that's what Henry has delivered. If he was running a business and these were the results and returns and he was a CEO, he'd be fired.
Thank you.
Governor McMaster, how is Representative Smith wrong with that
Everything he
characterization?
said's wrong. What he's been doing, everything. To quote my cousin Vinny, everything that guy just said is baloney. That's a paraphrase. With respect, of course.
Sure.
What Mr. Smith has been doing is campaigning just about everything he proposes. That's the way that team does that I mentioned a while ago, the liberal Democrats, the extreme, the left, the Bernie Sanders, Al Revolution, all those people. Always talking about raising taxes. Mr. Smith has voted repeatedly. I have in my list, I won't pull it out, Charles. Charles, I have in a list of at least 13 times he's voted to raise taxes, starting way back. He's in favor of Obamacare, which is a disaster. It would stifle what we're trying to do in South Carolina, more and more regulations, less progress. The answer to that is not to take the people to the hospital, but take the hospital to the people. And you do that with telemedicine and with nurse practitioners.
But how are you the governor for today? Obviously, he's painting as
Well,
governor
I'll
of the
tell you
past.
how, $8 billion in new investment, 23,000 new jobs. We just had the second year in a row the National Principal of the Year. National was in South Carolina. We're on the way up. We have a lot of great things going for us, and as long as we don't go back to where we've been and where other states are in decline all over the country with higher and higher taxes, more and more regulations, suffocating under Obamacare, coddling the unions, as long as we don't do that, we'll keep going. But if we do that, ladies and gentlemen, the expansion we experience now will stop. These companies will go to other places, business here will not expand, and we'll be going backwards, not forward.
Thank you. I want to move on. You're gobbling up our time out there. I want to move along into a healthcare question, and since Andy flipped the order, I'm going to stay with that by your leave. Governor, in the last debate, you noted that you'd remove some restrictions to allow nurse practitioners to go anywhere in the state. Right. In other words, give them greater latitude. However, studies of the nursing profession, and I'm going to quote my friend and colleague Jeanette Andrews, Dean of Nursing at USC, said that the real issue with nurses is not that there aren't enough people who want to be nurses, but there aren't enough professors to teach them. And it's easier for a qualified nursing professional to be a nurse than to teach nursing. How are you going to help, how might you help alleviate this crunch at the academic level?
Well, one way to do that that's been working, because we've seen it at University of South Carolina just recently, is to encourage the collaboration between these businesses that have huge research and development projects and our academic institutions. We have 3 institutions, research universities, that's MUSC, Clemson, and Carolina. We've had a lot of collaborations with Clemson and Carolina, not nearly enough with MUSC, but there's a business that came to South Carolina. It's in Anderson County. It's called Arthrex. They moved from Minneapolis to Florida and then to about a year ago to Anderson. And the reason they did is because Anderson University is there, and they're mainly nurses. They teach nurses there. They had the technical college, and they entered into a relationship with Clemson. So the next step is to get them to enter into a relationship and they make surgical instruments, very high tech, is to get them to enter into that kind of relationship with MUSC. I think that is the way that we grow.
Thank you. Representative Smith.
There's, Charles, so many things that need to be done to improve access to health in South Carolina. Right now, Henry, under your watch, South Carolina has among the worst health care outcomes, but we pay the most for it. That has to change, and as governor, it will change. And a matter of fact, when we talked about the effort to train more nurses in South Carolina, Henry, under your watch also, our tuition rates for our institutions of higher education are now among the highest in the Southeast, making it harder and harder for our citizens to access that higher education. As governor, I'm going to fix it. I'm going to expand health care in our state, cover hundreds of thousands that don't have access to it today. We're going to support preventative care that's going to drive the cost of our taxes down for that, and I'm going to improve the health of our citizens. In the end, Henry, I have never, not once in this entire campaign, proposed a single tax increase. Matter of fact, the only tax increases that have ever passed in my 22 years in the South Carolina House have been those sponsored by Republicans. That's who increases the taxes in South Carolina, and that's what's happening.
Thank you. There's a traditional or a practice that has been used to relieve nurse shortage for years, and that's hiring foreign nurses. We've got schools in this state that are hiring foreign teachers. We're in a part of the state, as I mentioned earlier, where German is spoken to some degree. You'll hear it out in the street here. We are a state that is reliant on people who are not necessarily born Americans. So I'm concerned about where you see us with regard to immigration in a state that depends on immigration. Should we be at all worried about this caravan that's getting a lot of attention? Or should we be much more inclined towards immigration that meets the needs of South Carolina? And this should start with Representative Smith.
Henry, this is another one of those areas. Again, there you go again. You proposed to eliminate sanctuary cities in South Carolina, of which there are 0. You know, Henry, as governor, I'm going to focus on real problems, not imaginary ones. The reality is this: we have too long seen the politics of division, playing on people's fears and hate and prejudice in order to get elected. It does a disservice to the people of our state, and I won't have any part of it. The fact is, I know there are hardworking people out there. There are DACA recipients who we need as a part of our workforce. And Henry, you know, most all of the chambers of commerce in our state want to see us allow them to have access to our institutions of higher education, allow them to have access to licensing, because they're an important part of our community. And matter of fact, many of these have never known their country of origin. You know, you got to care more, Henry, about the people of our state than just keeping this jobs and playing politics with their lives.
Governor, how do we make immigration work for South Carolina?
Mr. Smith is wrong again. I never said we want to eliminate sanctuary cities. I said we don't ever want to have any. And the only way we can be sure to not to have any is to put teeth in that law, because there have been suggestions around the country of not only sanctuary cities, but sanctuary states. So that's what I want to do, is not have any. I don't want to get into that kind of business, because we know in places where they have sanctuary cities, crime goes up, they have one problem after another, and we do not want to have any sanctuary cities in South Carolina. Now the other thing, the way to have more, thank you very much. The way to have more is we need to be sure that in our universities we're teaching South Carolinians. We have too many students. We have a lot not so many in some schools, but sometimes we get overloaded with students that come in here to go to our universities and then go back to where they came from and take their skills and their learning to other places. I think at USC, which is a great school, but we're heading towards having too many out-of-state students. Those universities are for the people of South Carolina, and we want to have people that will come to South Carolina, or that will be in South Carolina and will stay in South Carolina and use their education here and not go elsewhere.
All right,
Charles, I'm not sure what that has at all to do with immigration. I didn't hear any about that. The point is this: our institutions of higher education need to be such that they keep our best talent in the state, and we attract talent from other states and show them what a spectacular place this is to live and work, and we keep that talent here because we're going to connect them with economic opportunities when we do, and we get that. And that's the kind of leadership I'm going to provide as Governor, Henry.
Andy Shain has our next round with a question to Mr. Smith.
Okay. We're about 15 miles from where the winning $1.5 billion lottery ticket was sold.
Is it you, Andy?
I wouldn't be here, sorry. But I did win $4. South Carolina could get as much as $61.5 million if, as expected, the winner takes the lump sum payment. What do you think the legislature ought to do with the windfall? Representative Smith.
Well, this is an area that, it'll certainly be a windfall, but what we have to do, it's one-time money, Andy, and you always have to be fiscally responsible when it comes to one-time money by making sure that you don't commit it to recurring needs. We certainly have a lot of one-time needs in South Carolina, whether it be some infrastructure needs or some of our schools that have deferred maintenance costs. But I would work closely, as I have done for the past 22 years, with the leadership in the House and the Senate on both sides of the aisle to set priorities that support. I can't say what those would be right now off the top of my head. I know there are a lot of them, but I'd work. The important thing is this. A governor in South Carolina simply can't do that because they choose to do it. You have to take and work with the members of the General Assembly to do that, and I've shown a history of being able to do that, and that's what I would do here.
There's nothing on the top of your list. I'll make you the Speaker and the Senate President. What would it be?
I think there are a lot of desperate needs, certainly in our schools and deferred maintenance. I would look at brick and mortar projects that would be a priority, some infrastructure needs that would help move our state forward as quickly as possible.
Governor McMaster, same question, and I'll put you in the same position. You can dictate it.
Thank you. I would dictate a number of things. One is that I would not be in a hurry to immediately spend extra money that comes in. We always want more money coming in. We want to be growing every year, and that's why we had surpluses over the recent years. And that is a result of our good business environment, which would be ruined by higher taxes and regulations and coddling unions and those kind of things. But the one thing that stands out is our pension reform. We have in our pension, this is a contract we made with all the workers that are on that pension, and that's not just the state workers, but many in the counties as well, and is that we have a $20 billion unfunded liability. The Comptroller General Ekstrom, I believe, says it's maybe twice that. That would be a good place to consider. But something that's on the top of the list now is those people that are suffering from the hurricane and from the floods in the PD, all the way from Cheraw down to Conway, down to Sockasty, Bucksport, and all in that area. It's slow to get that federal money in. It's slow to get those things done. We're moving it faster and faster, but it would be very beneficial if we could find some way with great accountability and precision to see that money would go to help them.
Pensions would be at the top of your list, or are the pensions at the top of your list, or flood money?
That would be, I'd cut it in half, I think, if I were the dictator. You have to have priorities. We have a lot of needs in South Carolina, from roads to teacher salaries to all sorts of things we have to take as well as law enforcement.
All right. Governor McMaster, the next question starts with you. Should we, because of the success that we've seen from the lottery, should we allow other types of gambling in South Carolina? Sports betting is now legal nationally. What about casinos? What's your thoughts on that?
Don't think so. I remember this debate started years ago, and Carroll Campbell, who did a great job as governor for South Carolina, made the point that we don't want to be dependent on gambling. There's plenty of room, and he was exactly right, for good, solid businesses that are going to last, that are not going to be contingent or influenced by whims or anything that'd be unpredictable, to build it on good, solid business. And he and other leaders were successful in bringing BMW into South Carolina, and that has been the beginning of a run of successes. And as I've said, you've heard me before, in the last just 2 years, we've broken all records with $23 billion in new investment, 23,000 new jobs, $8 billion in new investment. That is the way to have a steady, clean, predictable source of income coming in through taxes for the people of the state.
Representative Smith, should we allow other kinds of gambling?
Well, I think by virtue of court decision, we know online, particularly sports gambling, is coming and is already here. And I would urge, and I think what needs to be done is make sure it's highly regulated so that we make sure that we protect the citizens in our state who are already exposed to that, and that it be highly regulated, because it's going to be there, and we know it's there today. And I'm sure there's revenues. I don't disagree with what Henry's talked about in terms of our economic development, but we can't do that without educating our people. The biggest challenge that we've had right now is an educated workforce, and that's the number one reason businesses come here. And so what the has happened is you can't just attract jobs but not prepare the people of our state for those opportunities. You cannot be the jobs governor if you're not first the education governor. And I'm grateful to have the support of the original education governor in South Carolina, Governor Dick Riley, who's here this evening.
So you would propose that revenue from sports betting would go to education, just like
I think that's
the lottery does.
Good place to look. Yes.
What about casinos? Do you have any
I
thoughts?
think I'm not prepared to support casinos.
Okay.
Gentlemen, we've got about 5 minutes left. I'd like to get in 2 quick questions if I can. These are tumultuous times. We're going through a period of time when we've seen rhetoric escalate to now where there are pipe bombs showing up in people's mail. Excuse me. You've given us a feisty debate tonight, and I thank you both for that. But my question really is, how do you govern in a time like this when there is so much hostility, when in fact the country seems to be riven between one extreme and the other, and where in fact even parties seem to be divided? I ask this question first of you, Mr. Smith.
Charles, this is so important. It gets at the core of our politics and why I'm seeking to serve in this office. I believe, like John Adams and George Washington, with the foundation of our nation, when they wrote about the fear, that there would become a time when people cared more about being a Republican or a Democrat than being an American or a South Carolinian. I've had 22 years of military service and public service in the General Assembly that's been all about bringing people together. Republicans and Democrats, Senate, House members, to focus on the things that matter and the challenges that the people of our state face every year. That's the kind of leadership that we need moving forward. Not the politics of division, not the efforts to play on people's fears and prejudices, Henry, you seem to do every day in this campaign. It seems that all you can do is bring about negative ads towards me and offer no ideas for the future of the people of our state. I believe that type of politics does a disservice to the people of our state. They deserve a leader with a vision for their future, not you worried about your own future.
Governor, how do you govern in a state, in a country, in a time when we are so divided?
I think the ad Mr. Smith is speaking of is the one about abortion, and it's been fact-checked, and it's 100% true. And I can't help the truth. It's the truth. But I think the way that I try to do it is to be a good example and try to project the kind of image that I think the people of South Carolina expect to see in their governor. And they expect someone to be a gentleman, to be considerate, and as I've said before, I'm immensely proud of the people of this state. When I talk to these businesses from around the world, they tell me consistently there are a lot of reasons they want to be here. And we're all here and we're enjoying this, but they see it from their point of view. They've never seen anything like us. They say the people of South Carolina, when they give you their word, they'll keep it. They're loyal, they're smart, they're hardworking, they have passion, and they are strong people, and the reason they come here is because of the people, the people, the people. I'm proud of them. I want them to be proud of me.
Gentlemen, my last question is about a first. This is the first time that we will be voting here in South Carolina for the offices of governor and lieutenant governor as a ticket, rather than as separate races. When you ran in 2014, you ran separately from Nikki Haley. So your running mates, I think, are both here with us this evening. And I'd like you to tell us why you chose your running mate and what does she, they're both women, what does she bring to the ticket that you don't? Governor?
Well, she is a mother, a businesswoman, and is a great person. Her name is Pamela Evett. She and her husband David, who's sitting by her, live in Travelers Rest. They have built a business on their own in 18 years, Quality Business Solutions. She has won just about every award for female entrepreneurs, not only in the city and in the state, but also in the world. I'm very proud of her. She's an accountant, and she brings that business background, and they do the back office with taxes and employment and the HR, human relations, all of that, so human resources. She brings all of that with a very fresh fresh set of eyes and fresh experience to examine everything that we do in government. She's an accountant. I'm a lawyer. We think that's a good combination.
So you're going to put her in charge of the money then?
I'm going to put her in charge of whatever I can put her in charge of. I promise you. And I'm a gamecock. She's a tiger, so we figure we got it covered.
Representative Smith.
Thank you, Charles. In looking for a lieutenant governor, I wanted to find somebody who I knew could be governor of our state, and a great governor. Someone who our entire state would be very, very proud of. Someone with the experience and the background to bring Republicans and Democrats together. Somebody who comes from, well, as she does, rural South Carolina, Lancaster. A background where she is the first in her family to go to college. Her parents and her grandparents were sharecroppers. They lived in homes that didn't have water or electricity. Her parents were mill workers. She worked her way through college, excelled there, and made her way through law school. She is the kind of leader I know we would all be proud of and would make a great governor for South Carolina. Mandy Powers Norrell, thank you for joining me in this race very much.
Any specific role that she would have in your administration?
Say again?
Any specific assignments?
Several roles. We talked about this. She would move legislation through the House and Senate because she's had experience doing that. She knows how to bring members together, and she's ready to start day one. She needs not a single day on the job training. She's going to work with me on zero-based budgeting and accountability for all of our agencies, so we make sure that we squeeze every single penny of the taxpayer dollars. And she's going to help me with appointments to make sure we empower the people of our state and have them involved in their own futures.
Thank you very much. We will talk with Pamela Evett and Mandy Powers Norrell in the last of this debate series. That's this coming Monday evening at 7 p.m. It will be on SCE TV and South Carolina. Our thanks this evening to the candidates, to my colleague Andy Shain, to all of you here and all of you watching out there. Election Day is Tuesday, November 6th. For everyone at SCE TV, I'm Charles Bierbauer.